Hi there, it's Tiffany from Daisy Farm Crafts, and today I'm going to show you how to make the mesh stitch pullover. This is using all single crochet and chain stitch. I did do a little bit of a yarn over slip stitch down here for the band, and then you'll use double crochets for the wrists, but pretty straightforward, nothing complicated stitch wise, and you'll get this really cute. This is about, I'm hoping this will fit him from about, he's 8 weeks old now, my little grandson, that's who I made this for. And I'm expecting this to fit him till he's about 4 months old, so somewhere in there. I used Caron Simply Soft with an H hook. Where's my little, there we go. Just exactly what it recommends. It's a 4-weight acrylic yarn, and you can use any acrylic yarn. Today I'm going to make it in pink. Oh, the color, this is light country blue and this is country blue. Today I'm going to make it in pink colors, and this will be soft pink and fuchsia are the two colors I'm going to use. Okay, so let's get started. Amazing to me. We're just going to start with 8 chains, and this is the collar. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now just work single crochet under the top loop of those chains, and we'll have 7 single crochets. Now chain 1 and turn, and keep track of which way you're going to be turning. You want to turn the same way every time, so that you'll have the same consistency. So I like to say turning like a page in a book, and that helps me remember to turn just like that. Now the first stitch of every row, I'm going to work underneath both loops and work a single crochet. Now for the next 5, I'll do the back loop, and in the last one I will just work under both loops. So that'll give both ends of my ribbing here for the neck the same, it'll look the same, and that'll help you out when you fold them over and join together. Okay, so that was all back loop, and now I'm just going to work underneath both loops. Oops. There we go. Chain 1 and turn, still turning in the same direction. Okay, you will continue for this for 45 rows. All right, I have my 45 rows, and here's a little easy way I've learned how to really count. Obviously this is the first row, and so then each little bump is basically 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2, 4, and then this is the 5th row across. Maybe that will help you. So anyway, what we'll do, and then also the tail will be on this side. So that's how you'll know you've got 45 rows, an odd number. All right, still chain 1. We're going to join these 2 ends together with single crochets, but we'll work the first one just into the back loop of that first stitch, and then underneath the bottom of that first chain row, and just complete your single crochet stitch. So I just worked into the second one, the back loop of the third, and then work underneath kind of where those 2 crisscrosses are on the bottom of the chain. There's the last one. Okay, now what you'll do is we're going to hide this seam on the inside of your work here. So just fold it up in half, and we're going to kind of match these rows to make sure that your band will stay really even. we'll work into like the rows that are the little dips. So right away, I'm just going to work 2 single crochets into that first little valley. Then I'll skip over maybe the hill, I guess is what you could, these stitches that are up a little bit more, and putting my hook down into the valley by making sure they are matched up on the other side. Work 2. Skip this row, work into the next. Okay, so continue doing that around. Work 2 single crochets into each little valley and skip the next row. Okay, so here you have 2 stitches into each, row, skip a row. You should have 46 stitches, and we need 1 extra. We need to make this an odd number in order for our mesh stitch to work. So I'm just picking a spot kind of right there where that starting tail was, making my final to give me 47 single crochets. Now I want you to mark that single crochet so that you know that that is the first stitch of the round. And then I want you to slip stitch to that very first single crochet we made. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, so sometimes I like to mark it because it looks like this would be the first stitch of the round, and it's not. It is this one. And when we come back, we are going to work our last stitch where we slip stitched into, which was the first stitch. So if you want to mark that, this totally can help you keep the counting on your rounds. And I just use little paper clip or safety pins. Okay, first and last stitch. This is your slip stitch, if you can see that. Okay, now we need to go ahead and mark a whole lot of other places for our, because we're going to do corners, what I call corner stitches, and this will start adding so that we can make shoulders for the sweater. Okay, so go ahead and grab your about 3 more safety pins, and let's get to counting and marking our corners. Okay, let's get those stitch markers placed. So here's the one I had you mark before you turn. That was the last stitch of that round. Or no, sorry, this one was, so that you know that this is the first stitch of the round. Here's the direction that we'll be going. So here's the first stitch of the round that I have marked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Place a stitch marker in the 9th chain, making sure this is the first. 1, 2, 3, 9. Now skip over 6 single crochet and mark the 7th one. Now skip over 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, and place in the next. So there'll be 16 single crochets in between these 2 markers. 6 single crochets, skip over 6, place the marker, and then back towards the end you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you'll place it in the 7th. And this one should already be there that we marked. Okay, so these are our shoulders, and there should be 6 in between here. This is the front of our sweater. There should be 16. Here's the other side, and then this is the back where we're always joining. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with the mesh stitch. Now I can take this very first stitch marker out. The mesh stitch will always begin with a single crochet. Then chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip the next single crochet, single crochet into the next. Now when we get up here to our very first corner, I want you to stop the mesh stitch. Now we have an extra single crochet, and instead of chaining, it worked out better that I just worked a single crochet. Then into the corner stitch, we do a series of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, all into the same stitch. Now begin the mesh stitch again. Single crochet into that next stitch, chain 1, skip, single crochet into the next, chain 1, skip, single crochet. Now I'm 1 stitch before the corner, take a break, place a single crochet before you start the corner stitch. Work your corner stitch. So I got a little bit too much. There we go. Which is single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now begin the mesh stitch again. So if you think about it, you've got your corner stitch and you've got single crochets on either side of them. So it's 2 single crochets in a row, 2 chains, then 2 single crochets. And then work your mesh stitch around to the next stitch marker, and you'll do the same thing. Okay, how did you work those last 2 corners? Just in the same way. And now I'm right here ready to join. So here's my last 2 stitches of the round. I'm chaining, I'm skipping, and this will be my last marked stitch that we marked. And that will tell me that it's a final single crochet of the round. And go ahead and take the time, if you're still unsure about joining rounds, to mark that. No, actually, you can't. If you don't know that that's going to be the first stitch that you mark or that you work into, take the time if it looks confusing to you. And I'm going to slip stitch this round. Turn. Okay, so that would have been our marked stitch right there. Now let's start this mesh stitch again with a single crochet. Every round always starts with single crochet. Chain, skip 1. Another easy way to think about the mesh stitch is that single crochets are always worked into single crochets. You're chaining 1 across chaining 1, the chain ones below. Except here we are at the corner. So I see those 2 single crochets in a row. Now I want you to also make sure that you're never skipping this first single crochet that's part of our corner. Go ahead and work single crochets. You'll have your 2 single crochets. Now actually we're going to have 3, and that's totally fine. You'll see what we do in the next round. Make sure you make that, and then let's start. See how we have our 3 single crochets here in a row? Start with your single crochet, chain 1. In this case, you're chaining 1 over or across this single crochet from the row below, and then working your single crochet. So that's how it will be worked around the corner, and you'll get your increase. Okay, so here's my last single crochet. I want to work 2 single crochets in a row here. The first leg of that corner is going to have a single crochet worked into it. Now work your corner stitch. Let's start with a single crochet. Start the mesh stitch again right out of the corner. And it'll, as it increases, it'll all continue to match up. Going across the front now. Let's do this corner together one more time. I just want to make sure I'm always single crocheting into the single crochet that was the first of that corner stitch. And then I'll work my corner stitch with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, begin the mesh stitch. And technically you're chaining across this single crochet from the row below, but that's okay because we want that mesh stitch to get picked right back up again. And as the round increases, it'll look good. Going around the shoulder, here's the single crochet. So look for those and then continue to work your corner stitch around those chain 2s. There we go. It's not so bad. Now we're getting into the rhythm of it. And we're about ready to join the round. And this is what I like, is the other rounds, it kind of hopefully works out. This is your last single crochet right there to work in the round. Come across over here to join the slip stitch. Okay, now you're off and running. We're going to increase this for, 14 rounds. 14 rounds. And then I'll show you how to join for the armholes. Okay, so I have 14 rows of increase, and what I like to do to make it easy on counting is, can you see how these are like 2 rows, and you can see a definite line? It's kind of like a pair, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. But another thing is, if you need to make this a little bit bigger, or say you're using different yarn than I am, I'll have a measurement on a size chart on my website with this pattern, and this is called the armhole depth, and I found this measurement really is helpful to have in order, and usually my sweaters turn out the right size if I kind of increase until I have this width. And so for the size I needed, which was 3 months about, is what I estimated, it was 3 inches and a quarter, and we're really close to that. So anyway, that's another thing. And so what we'll do to join for the armholes is go ahead and work the mesh stitch right up to that first corner stitch. Okay. So what we're going to do is now just continue with this mesh stitch. So we have been single crocheting into that single crochet, and now I'm just going to chain 1 over that single crochet. I'll work a single crochet into the chain 2 space and then just chain 1. So continuing the mesh stitch, pull that next chain 2 close to my work, and let's do a mesh stitch, basically a single crochet and a chain. And now let's begin again in this first single crochet. So right there, and chain, and then that way it should work out that we just start the mesh stitch around. Okay, so let's go around and do that on the other side. So here we are at the next chain 2 corner. So here's that first single crochet. I'm just going to continue my mesh stitch. Single crochet, chain. I'll skip that one. Into the corner, I'll do a single crochet and a chain. And I'm going to come over here and I'll work a single crochet and a chain, and then begin again right into this first single crochet with a chain, and it works out. All right, join and turn at the end of the round, and then I'll show you what the next row looks like. Okay, so since we just had that mesh stitch match up on that next row, that's all we need to do is match it up. So there's my chain, I'm chaining over it. Here's my single crochet, chain, there's the chain, and I'm working the single crochet. So now we have our little armhole. There you go. So what you'll do is just increase this. So I increased for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rows before I changed colors. And then I did another 9 rows, and then I'll show you how I did that. So I'll go work on this portion and I'll come back hopefully in a couple hours, and I'll show you how to do the ribbing on the bottom, and then we'll go over how to make the sleeves. Okay, so I did my 10 rows here, I've got 10 rows there, and I was just gonna do a measurement for you in case you're just interested in what I've got so far. It's 8.5 inches from the top of the collar down. And now I'm going to do this border that will kind of finish this off. So first, what I want to do though is, because I liked kind of shaping it inwards a little bit, the bottom of the sweater. So I'll do one round after I joined and turned. I'll do one round where I work only into the single crochets with single crochet. So basically I'm omitting making a chain, and I'm not working across the chain at all. So I'm finding each single crochet and working into it all the way around. Okay, so that just brought it in just a little bit. Here's what it looks like, and I just slip stitched with the starting single crochet, and now this time I've chained 1 already, but you want to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we will begin working half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. And I did a slip stitch, sorry, so it's not exactly half double crochet. It is yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, and continue pulling through. So it's kind of a yarn over slip stitch, or maybe a half double slip stitch. It's just I'm yarning over and then pulling through. All right. And then in the next chain, and I didn't turn, so I'm just working into the next single crochet, and I will slip stitch. And then I am going to turn, let's see, I think it was this way that made the most sense, yeah. Because we want to work into the back loop. We're going to work your yarn over slip stitch. There will be 5 of them. And actually at this, at the last one out here, I went ahead and I worked under both loops. Now, yeah, is it? I don't know, those kind of got folded over on me. No, it's not those two. It's these two right here. Here's the back loop. So here's the one, the front loop, and the back loop. There they are. I'm going to do that for a nicer finish on the bottom, and I'll make that one tighter. Chain one and turn. So basically you'll just be turning back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this fifth one kind of gets buried in here, but don't forget it. You'll get it with your hook in there. That's why I was wondering, I think if I turned it the other direction, it doesn't get buried in there. I'm gonna try that this time. There it is. I don't want it to get buried. Slip stitch to the next stitch like that. So I think I'm gonna turn it towards me. Yes, if I turn it towards me, that's much better. Let's see if that made a difference. And I do love these Susan Bates hooks with the Karen Simply Soft, I'll tell you that. Okay, here's my 2 I want to work underneath. And I like to just chain 1 and turn. Turn it back this way. Yes, that was much easier. Look, I can see that back loop right there. So turn it towards you. Grab it and get it going. Okay, so that's how I did the whole border, or that whole ribbing at the bottom of the sweater. And I think I'm going to show you how to get the sleeves going before I take this next break. See, that's how that looks. Okay, when you want to start working on the sleeve, the first thing I like to do is hold it like this, and I make sure that the little V's are facing basically away from me, as if I just chained and turned, so I know that I'm working into them as if I chained and turned, so that the pattern will continue that. Here's my little V's, and they're facing that direction. And here's the bottom of the armhole right there. So basically, I'm also going to go ahead and look ahead. Here's a chain, single. There was another single, but that obviously would be a chain and a single. That would be a chain. Let's start right here in the bottom. Pull up a loop. I'll go ahead and chain 1, but then I'm going to single crochet right into this space right there. And then since I kind of counted backwards, I know that I've got a chain I can do to cover this one, and I'll work single crochet into this one, chain over the next one, even though that was a single crochet. Remember when we were increasing out of those corners, so that's going to be there, but then I can just chain into the next one, and we've got our mesh stitch going. And I work around. Always matching single crochets into single crochets and chains across chains. That's what's giving me my look here. There we go. Okay, pay close attention. I'm chaining over or across a single crochet, and now it looks like I still have a chain right there. So what am I gonna do? I just always like to look ahead. We're almost to the bottom anyway. So, and since it's the armhole, I am going to pretend that that's a chain space, and I'm going to come down here and I'm gonna work an extra single crochet and a chain, and then that way I can single crochet into that spot. The most important thing is, as we did before, begin and end each round with a single crochet. So now here's that starting crochet, and I can slip stitch into it just like that. I'll chain one and turn. I'll begin in this single crochet, chain one, and begin the mesh stitch. Okay, so usually after this round is when I will count, and I just keep track of how many single crochets I have in a round, and I write that number down and I remember it for the next side, because sometimes when we're just trying to make it work at the bottom of the armhole there, we want to make sure we've done the exact number of stitches on either side so our sleeves are the exact same. Chain, here's my starting, finishing the round with a single crochet, and I'll slip stitch. Okay, that split my yarn there, I don't want that. There we go. There we go. Slip stitch to my first single crochet. Done. So, like I say, I'll take a time to count that, have that number in my head so that when I go to make the other side, it will be the same. All right, I'm gonna work this mesh stitch until I've got those 10 rows, and then I'll switch and add color for a little bit more, and then you can guess it, I only worked into the single crochets for this round, and then this round I did the double crochet ribbing. But I'll pop back on here, it might be tomorrow, and get you that and show you how that has worked, and then you're done with your little sweater. Well, good morning. Actually, this is the next day, and I'm back on to tell you and show you how to make the little wrist for the rest of your sweater to finish this off. I'm going to be doing some post ribbing here. So before you get started, on that last row, I did the same thing that I did down here. I worked one single crochet into each of the single crochets, and that brought that in just a little bit more. And now we're gonna bring it in just a little bit more than that. Okay, so I chained two and I turned, and now I'll just work one double crochet into each of those single crochets. All right, so after you work double crochet into the top of each of those single crochets, I just slip stitch, I just go underneath that turning chain. I chain two, and then I'm going to turn my work. Either way, doesn't matter. And now let's work alternating front post and back post around each of the double crochets around. So this is the front, popping it forward and popping it to the back. Here I am, just finished the round, and here's that starting 2 chain right there. I'll slip stitch, and now I'll just work one more round. So I chain 2 and turn and make sure the front post is still lining up with the front post of the row below. And I'll come over here, work that back post. And that brings the sleeve in just enough, I think, to finish off the sweater. Here's my last round, so I'll just slip stitch to the starting chain and then tie off. And I'll come back and weave in the end. Now you've got your cute little sleeve there. Okay, and one other thing I forgot to show you was how I finished up the ribbing around the bottom. And all you do is you get your tapestry needle when you're done with that last row. Then I just sew this together. So I will just reach into the back loop and then go underneath both of the starting chain like that and finish it off that way, and then weave in the end. Now there is one thing that I think I forgot to tell you to do, and I forgot to do it myself when I was looking back at this original sweater that I made, is that I changed hook sizes to do the ribbing. Can you tell the difference here? Let me turn this sweater over so you can see. Do you see how this ribbing is just a bit bigger and is poking out like that? This is totally fine, it looks good, but I stayed with the H hook on this. If you want a tighter look and have it look like this, I switched down to the G hook. So I'll reflect that in the written pattern, but I wanted to let you know here on the video too. So that is basically it. You need to weave in all of those ends and you are done. You've got a really cute baby sweater. So I've also been thinking about the sizing for this sweater too. It just depends on the circumference of the baby's head that you're making it for. I've stretched this out and it goes to about, it would go over a 15-inch circumference head. So that means that if you use the yarn I used, have my same tension, use the same hook, it's gonna fit about a 3-month, possibly 4-month-old baby. So it always depends. If you have chosen different yarn but are using the same count, go ahead and see how much stretch you get out of this, the collar, and that will give you a good indication on about the biggest size that you can make this for your baby. So I feel like it can always be made, you know, smaller. Maybe don't join as soon if you needed it to be a newborn size, but it just all depends on the head circumference for the collar. So anyway, good luck. Thank you so much for coming by our YouTube channel, but I hope you'll find the pattern on our website and be able to follow along there. All right, have a good day.